I think this one should be a ladies' anthem song. Karen White with Superwoman. Right here on Bayfm 107.9. Well, the next two ladies, let's find out if they are superwoman. Good morning to you, Alethea and Bernie. Are you like early in the morning, breakfast on the table? Do you do that?
No, definitely not.
Okay, and you?
No.
You don't?
No
So,
either.
are you saying that you're not a superwoman?
I am definitely a superwoman.
There we go. Amen.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't do the full spread. We're more of brunch people in my house.
Definitely. And 2
yourself?
coffees later.
Me. Okay, so today's topic. Well, today's topic is very interesting. We're speaking about hormones and mental health. So you ladies are actually here to tell me it's okay to go through moods. It's okay to go through mood swings. It's okay not to be okay and like, vandag is my daggie. Is that correct?
Yes, 100%. That is correct. And I think this is such an interesting topic for myself and Bernie. We absolutely love talking about this topic. Right, Bernie?
This is my favorite. Because once you figure this out, you will be a superwoman.
There we go. Now, my first question that I would like to ask you is, how do hormones affect your mood, your focus, and your energy?
Well, it actually affects absolutely everything from your sleep to your focus to how motivated you feel. And why this is because just like your Wi-Fi in your home, your hormones act like a little signal, and it transports information via your bloodstream to your organs and your tissue, controlling everything like your mood, metabolism, energy, stress, reproduction. So I just want to, if we can, just go a little bit deeper into the key hormones that we always hear people discussing when we talk about women's mental health. And these are really estrogen, progesterone, and cortisol.
Now you're sounding like a doctor.
She is?
Now you're sounding like a doctor.
Not yet, guys.
The doctor side, you guys are getting to hear the doctor. She pronounces all of the big words, guys.
Wow.
Hey, all of them.
No. But I think it's important that you understand the foundation of women's hormones and mental health. So just to kind of dive in a little bit, just very briefly, estrogen boosts your serotonin and dopamine levels in your body. Now, these are your feel-good and your motivation chemicals,
I've
right?
heard that word before.
Yes, dopamine, big word, right? When your estrogen levels are high, women tend to feel really energized, confident, clear-headed. The adverse of that is when it drops, so do your mood and mental clarity. That really explains irritability and brain fog, right? Progesterone, on the other hand, rises later in your woman's cycle and can have a calming effect for some, but also increasing anxiety and fatigue for others. Cortisol, the third one, aka the stress hormone, can magnify these shifts, really making PMS symptoms worse under stress. And the other one that I really want to touch on, which is less discussed or less commonly discussed, is testosterone. And yes, women have that too. This is made in the ovaries and adrenal glands and really plays a major role in your energy, motivation, muscle strength, and even your sex drive. So when this is low, you can feel flat, foggy, and fatigued. So yes, while estrogen and progesterone gets a lot of talk time, testosterone is also a major key role player in women's mental health and hormone health.
Now, I'm sure you've mentioned a lot of things, and I'm sure that there is some phases that a woman go through during her cycle. Share a bit more about that.
This is where you get into your superpower. And you said earlier, those days where you don't feel good. It's okay. It really is okay. And this is where everything comes together. You have 4 different phases. We've got the menstrual phase. That's when you are on your period, you are menstruating. Then we've got the follicular phase, and that is post-period. Ovulation phase, mid-cycle, and the luteal. Is it luteal? Thank you, Alethea. Phase, which is pre-period. All of us have this. We are cylindrical, which is why women cannot run at the same speed and focus and energy, because we've got all these different phases, and we're going to get into that a little bit more. But you see that pre-period phase, that where you're not feeling okay, that is where the anxiety comes in, the brain fog, the cravings, the fatigue. Right now, I don't want to say because I haven't been officially diagnosed. I could be like in a perimenopause. Whereas before, in my early 20s, before my period, I was fine. Now I will be a little bit more in tune with myself, meaning that I will cry just because something like really touched me.
Out of the blue.
I'll just be like overly
Emotional.
Yes, like
very
really in touch with
sensitive.
my feminine side, and that is fine too. So it's good to know these things so that you can control sort of what you do. So before my period, I don't make any big decisions. After my period, the big decisions come, because otherwise I'm going to be crying for your puppy. I'm going to be crying for a wonderful thing. I'm just going to be crying.
I know that feeling too well. So what's the mental health connections between, or like your brain fog rather, and then also frog in the brain,
Yeah.
and then also anxiety?
Great question, Adore. And just like Bernie touched on, when your levels change in your body. So, for example, we said earlier that your hormone changes directly influence the brain chemistry, right? So, estrogen supports your serotonin and dopamine pathways in the brain, like we said earlier. So, when this drops, your mood, your motivation often crash. Now, during the luteal phase, we experience heightened activity in the amygdala, which is your brain's emotional center, combined with less regulation from the prefrontal cortex, which explains really an increase in anxiety, the sensitivity that Bernie spoke about, the overwhelm, the overstimulation. And really, like she said, this is why many women experience brain fog, irritability, and low moods just before their menstruation. So no, ladies and gentlemen, it's not being dramatic. It's neurobiology.
Wow. So why do so many women dismiss this, or rather these shifts, especially when we speak about women in South Africa?
You can take this one, Alethea.
Okay. I think it's mainly the main contributing factors that we see is really stigma and conditioning. Society tends to label hormonal changes as, like you said earlier, just being moody or an excuse. And as women and as young girls, we tend to internalize that message, and we end up gaslighting ourselves, thinking, we should probably just cope better. And in South Africa, especially, over 70% of women of reproductive age report PMS symptoms that interfere with daily life, which affects your work performance, relationships, and self-confidence. And I think it's important to just expand on that just a little bit, is just to understand that mild discomfort with your period can be normal, right? Because your uterus is contracting to shed its lining. But pain that keeps you in bed, pain that's debilitating, that, just normal painkillers doesn't fix, that's not normal, and that should not be acceptable. And I think that kind of pain could sometimes be pointing to something deeper, and these are like, conditions such as endometriosis, fibroids, hormonal imbalance. So I think often we're told to just toughen up, but that's an outdated and dismissive sort of narrative that we should definitely challenge. So just to wrap up that point there, if you have normal cramps, manageable, that's kind of common, but anything that's debilitating, not normal, and should definitely get checked out.
What are some of the practical steps that women can take to work with their hormones instead of working against them?
Oh, I love this. Remember, I spoke about that superpower. So what I do is I track my energy. So throughout the month, just do this for 2 months and you'll see there's a sequence. What I'll do is will rate myself 1 out of 10 to see where my energy is, and to see whether that energy, out of the month, we've got 2 weeks where we are so energetic, where we can take on the world, where you feel like a superwoman for real. And once you figure that out and you start doing all of your heavy tasks, all of the tasks that you need more brain power, the kids clothing, the laundry, you have those days where you can just conquer it all, and days where you're like, the next sock is going to flip me over the edge. So track your cycle, figure out whether it is in your ovulation phase, your luteal, on your menstruation, because we all change. Alethea mentioned endometriosis. I am an endometriosis warrior, so please, if you are experiencing anything that we are talking about, go and check it out. A heavy period, a debilitating one that's making you feel like you want to faint is not normal. Nutrition. Make sure that you are not taking in too much processed foods, sugars, add more vegetables. And a hack that a few friends, I've got 2 friends that sent me this, is have red meat on that first day of your period. It sounds so silly, but it did the world of difference for me. And then also make sure that you go and check out your hormones. You can do it these various different ways. And then also start managing your stress. And that is easier said than done.
Yes.
And
Agreed.
it is, it flows beautifully with our burnout topic, which is just take 30 minutes for yourself, get silent, move. If you do even 30-minute walk or 10-minute walk, and then let's stop doing the self-comparison where I look at you and go, okay, but Alethea is doing this, Burn is doing that. Figure out what works for you.
Yes.
Once you figure that out, like for me now, it is... Where am I? I'm in ovulation phase. So I know this is my creative week. I'm going to be like putting the best content grid, all of the stuff together. I'm not going to be taking on anything heavy that's going to drain my energy, because I need to be mindful of it, because when I'm now pre-period, I need to be resting more. The bottom line is we need to figure out for ourselves what works for us, because there is no one size fits all. And then Alethea has found some very interesting research. And you also, I watched the podcast yesterday. She's going to tell us about the podcast that is going to help you.
Yes, I think that podcast it's a conversation between a doctor and Mel Robbins.
Yes.
So I think we'll add it onto our page.
Yes.
And just add that link, so that if you want to learn a little bit more about the topic, she's fantastic in explaining everything from the beginning to the end, A to Z. And I think just to end off is just like Bernie said, stop the self-comparison and practice self-compassion. Just understanding where you are in your phase, and understanding that, sometimes you need to take a little bit of extra time self-caring for yourself.
Can I just add to drink lots of water?
Yes,
100%.
yes. And then also tea. Tea is very good with antioxidants. Ladies and gents, remember that we are just here for a brief moment, and this topic you can run really in-depthly in for 30 minutes, which is why we're going to recommend you just go to Mel Robbins' podcast on YouTube, search the hormonal one to get a really in-depth, scope. But also my last one is talk about it. Talk about it to the kids. Explain to them. I've got a son and daughter, stepson and daughter. Like I tell people, I literally still get the same headache. I'm saved from nothing. And when we started educating them both on how to be mindful during that, it made such a difference. Because remember, your son's going to be someone's future wife. So let's just get them prepared to be on that time. Bring out the chocolates, bring the water bottle, rub her back, don't be too much, clean the house.
Normalize that.
I think that might save a lot of relationships.
Yes.
Yeah, and just say, look here, I'm on my monthlies. I get it quite heavy. Can you give me grace?
Yes.
And
we're not machines. We're cyclical, like you said. Exactly. So we can't expect to function the same every single day.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, ladies. We'll chat again next week, Wednesday, same time, Bayfm 107.9, our community, your radio, and have a blessed week further.